Salvador Dali, exploring the surrealist master's life and art. Salvador Domingo Felipe Jacinto Dalí y Domènech, commonly known as Salvador Dali, was a renowned Spanish surrealist artist born on May 11, 1904, in Figueres, Catalonia, Spain. Widely considered one of the most influential artists of the 20th century, Dalí's work continues to capture the imagination and challenge artistic conventions. Childhood and adolescence. Dalí grew up in a middle-class family where his artistic talents were recognized and encouraged from an early age. His father, Salvador Dali y was a lawyer, notary, and art lover, while his mother, Felipe Domènech Figueres, supported her son's artistic pursuits. Dalí's parents recognized his exceptional artistic gift and sent him to drawing school at a young age. During his childhood, Dalí exhibited an affinity for attention-seeking behavior and was known for his eccentric personality. He often boasted of having exceptional intelligence and believed he was a reincarnation of his deceased brother, also named Salvador, who passed away before Dalí's birth. Youth and artistic development. In 1922, Dalí enrolled at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts of San Fernando in Madrid, where he pursued his artistic education. During this time, he experimented with various styles, including Impressionism and Cubism. However, it was his encounter with the Surrealist movement and its leader, André Breton, that profoundly influenced Dalí's artistic evolution. Dalí's unique style began to emerge in the late 1920s and early 1930s. He developed a method known as paranoid critical, where he utilized irrational and dreamlike imagery, tapping into the subconscious mind. This technique allowed him to create fantastical and visually striking paintings that challenged traditional artistic norms. Notable works. Dalí's body of work includes an extensive collection of paintings, sculptures, and other artistic creations. Some of his most iconic and influential works include 1. The Persistence of Memory, 1931, perhaps Dalí's most famous painting. It features melting clocks in a barren landscape, symbolizing the fluidity and malleability of time. 2. The Elephants, 1948. This painting showcases huge, spindly-legged elephants with elongated limbs, representing the subconscious mind and Dalí's unconventional imagination. 3. The Sacrament of the Last Supper, 1955. Dalí's interpretation of the biblical scene incorporates his surrealist style, incorporating unusual elements and symbolism, such as the suspended triangle. 4. Swans Reflecting Elephants, 1937. In this artwork, Dalí plays with perception, showcasing swans that, when viewed upside down, transform into elephants, blurring the line between reality and illusion. The use of numbers. While Dalí's work is primarily known for its avant-garde and surrealist nature, he often incorporated numerology and mathematical concepts into his creations. The meaning of numbers fascinated Dalí, and he frequently made numerical references within his artworks. For example, the number 3 had a significant role in Dalí's works, as he considered it a symbol of the divine and often included 3 elements or repetitions in his compositions. In conclusion, Salvador Dalí's life and artistic journey were imbued with eccentricity, creativity, and a relentless pursuit of pushing artistic boundaries. From his unconventional childhood to his exploration of the Surrealist movement, Dalí's passion and unique style continued to captivate audiences worldwide. Through his impactful works, Salvador Dalí left an indelible mark on the art world, forever solidifying his legacy as a master of surrealist art. 20 Surreal Facts About Salvador Dalí, by Jessica Stewart and Margarita Cole on June 26, 2022. Facts about Salvador Dalí. Salvador Dalí with Ocelot Friend at St. Regis, 1965. Photo: Roger Higgins, Library of Congress. With a career that spanned more than 6 decades, Salvador Dalí is undoubtedly one of the most influential figures in modern art. Upon his death in 1989, he'd created an astonishing legacy that not only includes his most famous surrealist paintings, but sculpture, film, photography, and much more. As an eccentric figure from childhood, Dalí loved to push the boundaries, both in his personal and professional life. And he was also a hustler and master of self-promotion. Let's look at just some of the interesting facts about Dalí's life, some of which may surprise you. Full name: Salvador Domingo Felipe Jacinto Dalí y Domènech. Born May 11, 1904, Figueres, Spain. Died January 23, 1989, Figueres, Spain. Notable artwork: The Persistence of Memory, Movement, Surrealism. Here are 20 facts about Salvador Dalí, the eccentric master of surrealism, that you may not know. Table of contents: Hide 1. Here are 20 facts about Salvador Dalí, the eccentric master of surrealism, that you may not know. 1.1 He believed he was a reincarnation of his dead brother. 1.2 He started painting as a young child. 1.3 He was expelled from art school twice. 1.4 He didn't do drugs. 1.5 He created the persistence of memory when he was 28. 1.6 Surrealists weren't pleased with him. 1.7 His signature mustache was inspired by another famous Spanish painter. 1.8 He had an unconventional marriage. 1.9 He tricked Yoko Ono. 1.10 He collaborated with Disney. 1.11 He designed the Chupa Chups logo. 1.12 He loved throwing dinner parties. 1.13 He paid his restaurant bills in doodles. 1.14 He moonlighted as a fashion designer. 1.15 He produced covers for Vogue. 1.16 He designed jewelry, including a pulsating heart. 1.17 He created a hologram of Alice Cooper. 1.18 He illustrated a copy of Alice in Wonderland. 1.19 He built his own museum. 1.20 His trademark mustache remains intact to this day. Portrait of Salvador Dalí. Photograph of Salvador Dalí, 1934. Photo: Carl van Vechten, Library of Congress. He believed he was a reincarnation of his dead brother. Dalí wasn't the only Salvador in his family. Not only was his father named Salvador, but so was his older brother. Dalí's brother died just 9 months before the artist was born. When the famed artist was 5 years old, his parents took him to his brother's grave and told him that he was his brother's reincarnation. It was a concept that Dalí himself believed, calling his deceased sibling a first version of myself, but conceived too much in the absolute. His older brother would become prominent in Dalí's later work, like the 1963 portrait of My Dead Brother. He started painting as a young child. Dalí's earliest known painting was produced in 1910 when he was just 6 years old. Titled Landscape of Figueres, the oil-on postcard scene depicts the lush green hills and mountainous backdrop of his Catalonia hometown, Figueres. The impressive piece reveals the iconic artist's incredible, natural-born talent at such a young age. It now hangs in the Salvador Dali Museum in St. Petersburg, Florida. He was expelled from art school twice. Proving that he was a rebel from the start, Dalí was expelled from art school, not once, but twice. Young Dalí's artistic talent was fostered from a young age, particularly by his mother, who passed away when he was just 16 years old. While studying at the Fine Arts Academy in Madrid, he was known for his eccentric behavior and dress, which was that of a 19th-century British dandy. Unfortunately, Dalí never graduated. His first expulsion came in 1923, for his role in a student protest. After returning to the school, he faced a second expulsion just before his final exams in 1926. In his 1942 autobiography The Secret Life of Salvador Dali, the artist wrote that he was expelled because he wouldn't sit for his oral exams. I am infinitely more intelligent than these 3 professors, and I therefore refuse to be examined by them. I know this subject much too well. But the expulsion didn't slow him down. That same year he traveled to Paris for the first time and met his idol, Pablo Picasso. Portrait of Dalí and Man Ray. Photograph of Salvador Dali and Man Ray in Paris, 1934. Photo. Carl van Vechten, Library of Congress. He didn't do drugs. While Dalí's surreal artwork and eccentric behavior may have you think otherwise, the artist did not use any chemical substances to alter his state. In fact, he once famously stated, "I don't do drugs, I am drugs." To spur his creativity, in the early 1930s he developed something called the paranoid critical method. This allowed him to access his subconscious and was a major contribution to the surrealist movement. One way he kept himself in a dreamlike state included staring fixedly at a particular object until it transformed into another form, sparking a sort of hallucination. He created the persistence of memory when he was 28. With its strange subject matter and dreamlike atmosphere, Salvador Dali's masterpiece, The Persistence of Memory, has become a well-known symbol of surrealism and one of the most famous paintings in the world. Interestingly, the artist was just 28 years old when he completed this masterpiece, but the melting clocks motif he featured in the composition would be a consistent theme in his later works across different mediums. Surrealists weren't pleased with him. Though Dalí is considered a key figure in the surrealist movement, the group wasn't happy to have him early in his career. Many in the group were communists and weren't pleased with Dalí's fascist sympathies. The artist had a fascination with Hitler that the surrealists found unsettling. He once said, "I often dreamed about Hitler as other men dreamed about women," and even went as far as to include Hitler in his artwork. This includes 1958's metamorphosis of Hitler's face into a moonlit landscape with accompaniment, where the Nazi leader's portrait is disguised in a landscape. Over 20 years earlier, in 1934, André Breton would call a meeting to try and have Dalí expelled from the surrealist group, writing, "Dalí having been found guilty on several occasions of counter-revolutionary actions involving the glorification of Hitlerian fascism, the undersigned proposed that he be excluded from surrealism as a fascist element and combated by all available means." Of course, Dalí continued with his own beliefs, even supporting Spanish dictator Francisco Franco, whom he met several times. His signature mustache was inspired by another famous Spanish painter. Dalí began sporting a chic mustache when he was in his 20s, but as he matured as an artist, his facial hair became more and more prominent. Inspired by Diego Velázquez, a famous artist and portrait painter from the Baroque period, Dalí made his mustache immediately recognizable. Velázquez's self-portrait. Dalí's mustache was inspired by Spanish Baroque artist Diego Velázquez. Diego Velázquez, self-portrait, circa 1650. Photo. Wikimedia Commons, public domain. He had an unconventional marriage. Elena Ivanovna Diakonova, known as Gala, was 10 years older than Dalí and married to surrealist poet Paul Eluard when she first met him in 1929. A love affair quickly developed, with Gala eventually divorcing Eluard, though they remained close. The couple married in a civil ceremony in 1934, despite Dalí's family's unease with him marrying an older Russian divorcee. She had a pivotal role in the artist's career, becoming his business manager and muse. By the 1950s, Gala was publicly engaged in extramarital affairs, though it's said that Dalí encouraged this. And in 1969, when Dalí purchased her a Catalan castle in Pobal, it was specified that he could visit her there only if invited in writing. Throughout their lives, there's no doubt they shared an intense and cerebral love. He wrote, "I would polish Gala to make her shine, make her the happiest possible, caring for her more than myself, because without her, it would all end."